Hello and welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be tier ranking the modern primary Kamen Riders. And by modern I just mean anything that's happened since the revival with Kuuga. I haven't seen any of the show era seasons, so I can't really talk about the riders from that. So it will be everything Heisei onward. I'll also be including Momotaros. Even though he isn't really technically a primary rider, he is a pretty big part of Den-O, and I think for the most part he deserves to be on this list as well. So without further ado, this is my tier ranking of the modern primary Kamen Riders. First is Yusuke Godai, Kamen Rider Kuuga, and I've always really liked Yusuke. He definitely feels like the most normal out of all the primary riders, which is good because a lot of them can be a little too cartoony, and it's cool just to have a grounded character like him, even though he does have some quirks with his many random talents. I think for the most part he's just a nice guy. He's pretty normal. He has really good interactions with all the other characters, especially his uncle, which is really funny. And just like his motivation about fighting for people's smiles, which is the opposite of the Grongi who fight for their own smiles. I kind of wish there was more done with him going berserk because of Kuuga, but that doesn't really lead to anything. But despite that, he's still a really great character. I like him a lot. He's A tier. Next is Shoichi Tsugami, Kamen Rider Agito, and I like him, but he just feels a little too goofy to me. He just has a lot of funny moments out of context, like with the fish and playing tennis with a frying pan. And in a lot of ways he does feel similar to Godai. He has an interesting backstory and mystery, but I don't really think it was done the best. And he's pretty much the same character pre-amnesia as he is post, so I think that was a missed opportunity. But overall I still like him, even if he is a little too goofy. So he's B tier. Next is Shinji Kido, Kamen Rider Yuki, and he's another good rider. I just like how he's mostly a normal person, and he's not a special chosen one type. He is flawed, he's a bumbling buffoon a lot of the time, and makes a lot of mistakes. But overall he has a good heart, and just wants to fight to protect people. Even though throughout the season his whole arc is about finding out exactly what he wants to fight for. It's just ironic that it takes until his death to realize that he truly wants to close the mirror world instead of fighting in the rider fight to grant someone their wish. He can be a little annoying because he's just always on, and I don't think the comic relief of him works all the time. But for the most part, he is a relatable character, and I like him, so he's B tier. Next is Takumi Inui, Kamen Rider Faiz, and he's a great protagonist. I just like how at first he's a reluctant hero, kind of just there out of circumstance, and really his arc throughout the season is growing into being a hero. He just has a cool personality, a little bit of an asshole, but overall gets nicer as the season goes along. I just think that out of all the writers, he's the one that gets the least to do in his own show, so that kind of sucks because I like him a lot. He has an interesting backstory as the Wolf Orphanok, even though I don't think it was explored too much, and I like his personality and his arc throughout the season. It's just that he really doesn't get much to do in his own season, but I still like him a lot. He's A tier. Next is Kazuma Kenzaki, Kamen Rider Blade. He's kind of just a mediocre rider. I think for the most part he's just really generic. Like, he could be in any season. He doesn't really have that much unique traits. Like, he just fights out of duty. What most people know him for is just all the memes, like, you betrayed me, Tachibana-san. I think that's what most people know him for. But at the same time, he has one of the best character moments, probably in all of Rider, at the end with his sacrifice. He's a mostly mediocre character until the end where he makes such a great decision, and that boosts his stock up a lot. He definitely isn't great still, but that one moment is so good, it definitely bumps up his stock a lot. So he's C tier. Next is Hibiki, Kamen Rider Hibiki, and he's one of my favorite main riders. He's definitely the most unique, as instead of a younger guy, he's older and wise, and really isn't even the main character of his own show. And he just is such a good mentor to Asumu, has a great relationship with him, is a badass, and can also have funny moments. So he just does so much good things well. He's great, I like him a lot, one of my favorite writers. He's S tier. Next is Soji Tendo, Kamen Rider Kabuto. I have mixed opinions on him. On one hand, he's the archetype of primary rider I like more as the cool badass jerk who is just good at everything. He's so overpowered, which is the other thing I don't like about him. He goes through no adversity at all throughout the season. Literally nothing bad happens to him, and when something does, it's immediately undone. Like, he's so powerful. His future self sends him back the hyper sector, which is just so crazy. But at the same time, he at least goes through a little arc about only wanting to save Hiyori to wanting to save humanity as a whole, and he has a good relationship with Gatak. I do like this archetype more than the average writer, and I like badass characters in general, but he's just way too overpowered, doesn't really go through any problems at all, so he's B tier. Next is Ryotaro Nogami, Kamen Rider Deno. He's one of my favorite riders. Pretty much every single rider is confident in themselves, except for Ryotaro, who's very meek and unsure about himself, and that makes him easily the most relatable rider. Like, his unluckiness as a comic relief bit doesn't work all the time, but just his personality in general, his relationship with his sister, and then his relationship with the Imogen, which allows him to gain confidence. It just works because his meek personality juxtaposed to all the Imogen's crazy loud personalities just works so well. So I like him a lot. He's S tier. Next is Momotaros, who is also Kamen Rider Deno. He pretty much is Deno. Everything after Deno ends, every single time Deno appears in other things, it's usually Momotaros who is it. So I'm counting him here. And in a lot of ways, he is the primary rider, as he is the sword form and controls it, even though it's Ryotaro's body. As a writer, I definitely don't like him as much when he's not with Ryotaro. Every single time he shows up in all the movies and the Chodeno stuff without Ryotaro, just something feels missing. But when he's with Ryotaro, it just makes a lot of sense. He's loud, obnoxious personality juxtaposed with his meek personality, and just grows to becoming protective of Ryotaro and stuff like that. When he's not with Ryotaro, he can be kind of annoying and kind of overstays the welcome a lot. But in a lot of ways, he is Kamen Rider Deno, and I just like him a lot. I like all the Imogen. So he's A tier. Next is Wataru Kurenai, Kamen Rider Kiva, and in a lot of ways I just see him as a worse version of Ryotaro. They have a pretty similar personality in that they're both unconfident and meek, but for some reason I just don't like Wataru as much. It's cool that he's pretty much has the exact opposite personality as his dad, who is a confident womanizer. So in that way it's cool, but as a character I just never found him that compelling. He doesn't have that interesting of an arc. I think it's kind of rushed how he gains his confidence when he becomes king at the end. Although it is cool how when he turns into Kiva, he's just a cool alter ego. I don't know, I've just always seen him as a lesser Ryotaro, just less likable for whatever reason. So he's C tier. Next is Tsukasa Kariya, Kamen Rider Decade, and he's one of the best primary riders. His personality is great as a snarky badass, but can also be heroic. His backstory is interesting, but it's never adequately explained, even when there's an entire movie dedicated to it. And I really don't buy into his friendship with Natsuki or The End, but his personality is just so great that he's instantly one of the best writers. He has one of the best catchphrases in all of Tokusatsu. He's such a cool character. It's so cool whenever he shows up into anything else. He's just an incredible main writer. So he's S tier. Next is Shotaro Hidari, Kamen Rider Double. He is also a great main writer. He has just a funny personality as a guy who tries to act like his boss, a hard-boiled detective, but he really always ends up just coming out as half-boiled, and really his arc throughout the season is accepting that he isn't his boss, he's his own person, and accepts himself as a half-boiled detective. He can still be cool, he can be funny. He is really funny, one of the funnier main writers. He has a great relationship with Philip. I just like him a lot. He's one of my favorite parts of Double, and he's a great main writer. He's S tier. Next is Philip, the second part of Kamen Rider Double. I definitely don't like him as much as Shotaro, not at all. He just doesn't really feel like his own character. I still like him, but he just doesn't have too much of a personality. He's not as integral to the plot as I had hoped, but just as a character in general, he's not that interesting. He does have interesting backstory. He definitely works as Shotaro's sidekick, but if he was just the main writer of the show, I don't think it would be as good. I still like him, but I don't think he's too great, so he's C tier. Next is Eiji Hino, Kamen Rider O's, and he's one of my favorite main writers. He's pretty much the quintessential guy who wants to fight for other people's lives type that started with Yusuke, in that he tried to help as many people as possible by using his wealth, but ended up getting taken advantage of, and now he only wants to help people as far as he can reach out his hand, and became a wandering nomad and stuff like that, which is cool that this quirky aspect of his backstory is explained and has a good explanation to it and is integral to his character. He has a great relationship with Ankh. Probably the best part of O's is Eiji and Ankh's relationship. What's also great about him is that his character gets a proper ending in the 10 Years After movie, which many characters don't. He is kind of a generic Yusuke Godai type, like, nice guy, but he's still the best of that type of character. Even if he's a little boring, he has such a good motivation for wanting to help people, and he's just an incredibly likable character. So he's S tier. Next is Gentaro Kisaragi, Kamen Rider Forze, and he's another character that I have mixed opinions on. His personality works really well for the season itself. It's supposed to be an uplifting season, so his in-your-face, energetic personality, always spouting about friendship and stuff like that, it works well for the season. Just in a vacuum, he can be really obnoxious and annoying, but at least the season goes all in to reinforce the theme of friendship, and his character definitely helps with that. But also, I can kind of believe in him, and I understand where he's coming from and stuff like that, but that still doesn't take away the fact that he can be really annoying and seem a little disingenuous sometimes. I still like him, but I don't think he's great, so he's C tier. Next is Haruto Soma, Kamen Rider Wizard. He is a great main rider, one of my favorites. He's definitely the coolest out of all of them. He has such a cool personality. He has such a cool aura about him as this modern wizard, and he pulls it off really well. Has such a great personality, while also still being able to have weird quirky moments like him liking plain donuts, which is honestly understandable. I think the one problem I have with him is that he goes through his entire character arc before the season even starts, so he never really changes throughout the season. He's still a really great character, one of my favorites. He's so cool, so he's A tier. Next is Kota Kazuraba, Kamen Rider Gaim, and he's another really good main rider. He is kind of cut from the same cloth as Yusuke Godai, as kind of just like a normal guy who wants to fight. But I think what makes him different from everyone else is just all the stuff he goes through. He goes through more adversity than any other rider, like him accidentally killing his best friend and other stuff like that, giving up his humanity to save all of humanity. But he never wavers from his ideals at all. He always sticks to wanting to help as many people as possible, even if it brings harm to himself, even if he did some bad things in the past by accident. He understands and moves by and is still able to cling to his ideals and help as many people as possible, and that's admirable. I like him a lot for that. He's a very likable main protagonist. He's especially pretty good foil to Kaito, who sees a very negative worldview, where Kota sees a very optimistic worldview. He's just a great protagonist, especially for Gaim. He's A tier. Next is Shinosuke Tomari, Kamen Rider Drive. He's one of my favorite main riders. Obviously, it's definitely biased because of how much I like Drive as a season, but I definitely like him because he feels like the last of the age of riders that are like Yusuke Godai, as like a mostly normal guy who just wants to fight to save as many people as possible, even though they're just a normal person. I just like his personality as very heroic, while also having like this funny joke about having to get into gear in order to solve mysteries and stuff. He has an interesting backstory with his father. He has a great relationship with Krim Steinbelt and the other writers, Chase and Go, and especially with Kiriko, probably the only romantic relationship that I actually believe in writer or Sentai. And he's just such a great writer. He's one of the best. He's S tier. Next is Takeru Tenkuji, Kamen Rider Ghost. I don't hate him. I think he's a pretty alright writer, very inoffensive, but at the same time, he kinda is the beginning of the new age of writers, as I like to say, where they all have to have some sort of specialty to them, like they're chosen. In this case, Takeru, he's not the only character in the show that is a quote-unquote ghost and is being projected to have his icon, but for some reason he's able to resurrect himself multiple times, even though everyone else only has 2 lives. They have their one life as they're being projected and then their actual life. So in that case, I don't really like that about him. I don't like how little stakes there is to his character. He is a very bland character, but at the same time, I don't know, there's something charming about him. He has a funny monologue at the beginning of every single episode that's the exact same, that's always endearing for some reason. I definitely like him. He's definitely the best of this type of new age writer, but I don't think he's great. He's still likable. He's C tier. Next is Emo Hojo, Kamen Rider X-Aid. He's a fine writer. I don't hate him, but I definitely don't like him that much. He is definitely cut from the same cloth as Takeru. They're very similar personalities, as like naive, energetic type. He does have an interesting aspect where he has 2 personalities. One is Emu and one is Genus Gamer M, which is very interesting, especially when you realize that Genus Gamer M is Pardo, but I think it's not done the greatest, and I don't think there's too much of a difference between those 2 personalities. He just comes off as a little bit whiny sometimes, but at the same time, I can believe in him and wanting to save as many lives as possible. I just don't really like how he is patient zero of the Buckster virus. Like I said before, there's something special with every single one of these writers. Still, I don't really like that he's just like a special boy and like everyone worships him, especially when it comes to Brave, who immediately accept his point of view. That's kind of annoying. Like I said, has a little bit of annoying personality, but overall I believe him as a protagonist and he's not terrible. So he's C tier. Next is Sento Kiryu, Kamen Rider Build, and he is the best writer protagonist so far. He's such a good combination of can be like the New Age writer where he can be altruistic and that type, but can also be a badass, and he's really believable delivering these really corny lines. But what really makes him a great character is that his backstory, where he's the demon scientist Takumi Katsuragi with his mind wiped, and is really only Sento Kiryu because of Bloodstock, who made him that way for his own plans. Sento is such a great protagonist. As you can see, he's a little bit of Katsuragi because of his egotism, can be altruistic and can be cool, can pull off these corny lines while still being cool, has a great backstory. He's pretty much everything you need, while also having a special moment that is really interesting and captivating. So he's just the greatest rider. He's S tier. Next is Sogo Tokiwa, Kamen Rider Geo. I really don't like him that much. He at least can be believable as a hero, but that's really where my praise ends for him, because he's pretty much the worst version of this New Age type, as has a very unrelatable, cartoony motivation to wanting being king that's so stupid, and it's pretty much the exact same personality as Takaru, and is that type of character. Is really only obnoxiously annoying in one episode, the O's tribute, and other than that he's just whatever. So he's not absolutely terrible. And the one thing I don't like most about him is that he never shows he has the capability of becoming Omagio. He is always just like a good guy, which I guess is the point of the show. Like Gate Tsukimi going back in time might have changed it, but it would have still been cool to see him have those moments of maybe becoming Omagio. So he's whatever. He's not terrible, but he's definitely one of the weakest protagonists. He's C tier. Next is Aruto Hiden, Kamen Rider 01. He probably is the worst first impression out of any writer I can remember. I hated him in the first episode, but I think that shows how good of a character he is, because he is this type of New Age writer where he is very energetic, enthusiastic, naive. He's also like a quote-unquote comedian, which can be funny every once in a while with his bad jokes, but I don't know, most of the time it's not good. But what makes him an actually good character is just his motivation is believable. You understand why he wants humanity to accept the human ears, because he was raised by one. And even though I don't agree with that, I can still understand why he thinks that, which I think is why he's such a good character. And even though his comedy can get in the way, can be a little bit annoying. In the last arc, he pretty much uses no comic relief. He's completely serious, and I still believe him. But it's really his motivation that makes him a great writer. And he could have been bogged down as a one-note joke character, but overall I think he ended up being a really good writer. So he's A tier. Next is Toma Kamiyama, Kamen Rider Saber. He is definitely the most boring writer out of all of them. I know I said Sogo was probably the worst of this age, but he's probably worse than him. He's even more boring. He can be believable as a hero, at least as long as he's not wearing his stupid hats. But he's such a boring personality. I don't care about him at all. What I hate about him is that everyone worships him so bad. It's the most tell don't show thing of all time. Everyone says how good of a person he is, how great he is, how he's destined for greatness, and he never really does anything great. Not to mention he is a special boy type. God is literally in his name, and to sacrifice in the end would have been great, him taking the place of Victor basically, but with no explanation he can just leave whatever he feels like, so it meant nothing in the end. Such a boring character. I debated putting him in D tier, but he's at least believable as a hero, so I still really think he's the most boring character ever. He's C tier. Next is Iki Igarashi, Kamen Rider Revi. He's a decent protagonist. He definitely feels the most like the old age, like Yusuke, combined with the new age as a little more energetic and quirky, but I still like him. He's definitely the best character in Revice. I like that he's the older brother. Him care about his family, and all the interactions are great. He has a really great relationship with Vice. Revice has a lot of problems. Iki is definitely not one of them. He's a B tier character. Next is Vice, Kamen Rider Vice. He was so close to being one of the worst characters in Rider history, but thankfully he was saved near the end, because when he's introduced he really just feels like discount Momotaros without any of the charm. So annoying. Everything he says is either a bad joke or a snarky remark. But at least over the course of the season, I believe his relationship with Iki, there are moments where he's actually can take a serious moment seriously, especially near the end when Iki's losing his memories and the stuff with Vice. You can obviously tell he cares about Iki and becomes an actually good part of the show and is funny every once in a while. He definitely still feels a lot like just discount Momotaros. And another thing that I don't really like about him is I don't really know exactly what he represents about Iki internally. Like, Iki is already kind of an energetic guy. Vice is just more energetic. So I don't exactly know what he represents about Iki as. Like, Love Kav represents Sakura's feeling that she's weak on the inside, or Kagero is of Daiji because he's jealous of his brother. I don't think Vice really represents anything about Iki. And I still really don't like him too much, but I still at least don't hate him. So he's C tier. Next is Ace Ukyo, Kamen Rider Geets. He's a really good writer. I just like how we finally get another arrogant, snarky, badass type. But at the same time, you know, he is heroic, and one of my least favorite parts of him, just over the course of the season, he just becomes more and more generic, and by the end, he's kind of a generic new age writer fighting for people's smiles and all that crap, kind of losing a lot of his coolness. But he's still really cool, has an interesting backstory as a guy who was resurrected multiple times to fight in the DGP, which is kind of just used to get Boost Mark 2, but it's still a really cool backstory nonetheless. And early in the season, he's one of my favorite writers of all time. Just over the course of the season, he gets worse and worse and just more generic. But overall, he's still a above average writer, one of the better ones. He's A tier. Next is Hotaro Ichinose, Kamen Rider Gotchard. He's easily my least favorite writer. No competition at all. Gotchard is my least favorite season by a landslide, and a lot of it is because of Hotaro. I really don't believe him as a hero at all. He can't really pull off being cool. He's kind of just worshipped by everyone for no real reason. A lot of ways he's just a worse version of Aruto, but I don't understand why Hotaro wants humanity to accept the Kimis at all. Really superfluous reasons. Most of it comes down to is that I just can't believe him as a hero. He feels like he could be beaten by anyone, blown numb by a gust of wind, can't really be cool, and I don't blame the actor for this. He's obviously following direction and writing that's terrible, but at the same time I feel like he was miscast. He feels more like the Alchemist side characters more than the main writer, and I just feel a little bad for him for doing the best he can in a situation that he's obviously not going to win at. I hope he has better roles in the future, gets more opportunities. He seems like a nice guy. He was just put in a terrible situation. Hotaro as a character, easily the worst writer, no question. My least favorite character in Kamen Rider Super Sentai, maybe in any show I've seen. I really hate him. I don't believe him at all, and that's just the biggest problem with him. I don't believe he can be a writer, so I just hate him all. D tier is reserved just for him. Finally, Shoma, Kamen Rider Gavv, and I'm very happily surprised about how much I like Shoma, especially coming after Hotaro. He's definitely cut from the same cloth as Takeru, as an enthusiastic, energetic type of character, but at the same time it's more believable because he's on Earth for the first time, seeing all these new things, and his passion for food is very wholesome. He has a great relationship with Hanto and Lakia and Sachika, and his backstory is really interesting as part of the Stomach family and his mom and stuff like that. But what I like most about him is that he can be really cool when he needs to. When he becomes Gavv, he's always becomes a lot cooler, and when the Granutes aren't willing to give up dark treats, he doesn't spare any quarter and never feels bad about them, which I like because a lot of the times they try to redeem villains when I feel like it's unnecessary, and I'm glad here that he isn't doing that. Even with his own family, they're not willing to turn over a new leaf. He takes care of them, which is kind of crazy to talk about when he's such a wholesome character. He is still kind of a boring character, very much the new age type, but his coolness just sets him apart. I really like him, and here's hoping that once Gavv ends, I like him even more. So he's B tier. So here's my tier list of all the modern primary Kamen Riders. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? It's been a while since I've made a Kamen Rider related video, so it's cool to get back. I'm planning on making more tier rankings about other categorizations of riders like secondary riders, tertiary riders, evil riders. And once I finish rewatching Geets and once Gavv is over, I'll probably do a tier ranking of just the seasons in general. And obviously with Zets being revealed about a week ago, I'll probably do an episode on the premiere for that, just because it's going to be broadcasting in the US, which is a pretty big deal, and it looks cool. I hope it's good. Gavv has been really good so far. And once Gavv ends, I'll also do a video on a season review as Gavv as well, because it's definitely been a very good surprise. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Feedback is always appreciated. Have a great day.